I'm John Ash. I release art and music under the name Speaker John Ash. So if like you go on Spotify, that's how you find it, Speaker John Ash. The speaker is it's just an important thing to me. From the book Speaker for the Dead, it's about speaking truths that people don't necessarily want to hear, or things that are like hard to receive. And primarily, I'm a steward of something called cognicism, which is a social system that was designed explicitly to replace capitalism, meaning that it took the things from capitalism that are functional, that are useful, that work, that help people, and sort of did a deep analysis of what was it about that system that was failing us, and then took the good things from the existing systems, and the existing ways that we do sense making together, and tried to bring together something coherent. And I released this document in 2016 called the Cognicist Manifesto. It was basically that our systems were falling apart, that technology was going to dramatically break a lot of the things that we relied upon, that governance was going to start to fall apart, that there was going to be a great need for what I called at the time a mimetic immune system, because that information as it flowed through the internet was just going to become so unchecked that by the time it had already planted itself into people's minds, it was really too late to root out. So I was sort of trying to say, here's the future that is going to come to pass, and here's what we have to do. And deep in that was also this discussion in 2017 about the coming of generative text models and generative models in general, and how they would, corporations would use those to very negative effects. And we had this great chance to use that exact same technology to make the world a better place. And I'm not here to talk about cognicism today, but it's sort of like a good setup point, in that when I talked about that in 2017, I got a lot of anger back at me. A lot of like, how dare you even suggest that you could play on the level of our founding fathers or something like that. I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that I can see that there is a problem. I'm independently motivated to bring into existence something that can help us stick the landing, because I'm a human and I live in this human world, and I don't want to see us collapse. And so for about like 10 years, not 10 years, but definitely the first 5, it was definitely like a lot of you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And now we're in this place that like people are like, oh, I see what you're talking about. They're independently coming to those conclusions. I don't want to go across this 10-year time span. I want to talk about information aging right now, because there is this important thing that has happened, which is this assassination. And not everybody, but like a lot of people just want to know the truth. They want to know what happened. They want to know why this person did this. They want to know why or who they were connected to, because we all sense that it's going to impact everything at scale, right? Like it seems that the reasoning behind it will affect like the choices that a lot of people make. And I'm looking at this in this way of like, it's eventually gonna come out. The information will come out, and then we will leave behind this large record of everybody's wrong take. Like there is, in fact, this 15-year record of social media, and yes, it's controlled by the corporations, and it's hard to get access to your own data via the API, but there is this 15-year record of all the wrong takes, and there's a 15-year record of all the right takes. And yet the algorithms do not use this information to shape the information landscape whatsoever. It cares about whether your post gets attention, because attention means you're on site, and if you're on site, then you're seeing ads and they're making money. there's nothing in that algorithm that says, okay, 4 days ago, people were talking about this Tyler Robinson person, and they were very, 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 very confidently saying this person is a female to male trans person. That was something I saw so many people writing on that like first day. Now the narrative has shifted, and those same accounts are posting equally as confidently the new theory that validates their own perception of the course of events. And maybe it's right, and maybe it's wrong. But we have a clear record of like already, okay, they jumped on this theory, they jumped on this theory, they jumped on this theory, they jumped on this theory. And now there's no ambiguity. Some things are hard to determine ex post facto, but some things aren't. So like, for example, in the beginning of COVID, there were a couple of people that were very explicitly, COVID will be over in a few months. We have on record Elon saying very clearly, it's going to go away. We have on record Trump saying very clearly, it's going to go away. Now, we can all have different opinions about the nature of the pandemic, whether it was faked or whether it was like a control mechanism. That's another question. But nobody disagrees that for years that things changed. It's not like a questionable reality that things changed, that like there was this dramatic change in the way that culture worked, and everybody agrees upon it, right? So there are things, these anchor points in the record that are unambiguous, right? That are simply, they said something very, very confidently, reality played out, and they were very wrong. What I'm suggesting that we need to do as a society, and what is the fundamental mechanism behind cognitism, is making this record of the aging of information tied directly to the amplification of your speech on specific topics. Not like some absolute score, like you know everything or anything like that, but rather that if you're speaking in a very specific context and you are very consistently aligning early on with what comes to pass, I would like to see that information lifted up. And if there's another voice that very specifically has repeatedly gotten this wrong, I don't care that a lot of people are liking it. I genuinely don't give a shit. It's not helpful to me. I know that it's there to suck me in. Like Benjamin posted me, or not posted me, he posted this video and it was like an axe falling, and right before it hits, it cuts, which is a very common algorithmic manipulation thing. It's like your brain needs the satisfaction, and so it's attending to that closely because it just grabs you. It's not useful information in terms of like us trying to cohere, us trying to make sense of the world together, us trying to ensure that there aren't more like violent assassinations or like whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. It seems to me that the things we amplify are not the voices who are reasoned, who are measured, who are ahead of the curve, whose thoughts age like wine. Rather, we're seeing more and more of these subreddits like r/this you and aged like milk, where it's not even just somebody being wrong. It's somebody contradicting themselves exactly. And the only thing changed is the context of the person. So there's all of these examples of people posting like something about politics, a very confident stance. And then a few months later, the context of it shifts. It's now the other side who is the perpetrator. And they say almost exactly the same sentence, except for pointed at the other person. What I'm basically trying to bring into attention is that this mechanism of like the aging of information, if we embrace it as a choice, I'm not saying that we should be held accountable to things that we didn't intend to be held accountable to. I'm saying if we have systems, if we have DAOs, if we have groups where individuals can say, this matters right now. I know you don't get it. I know I sound crazy. I know I sound stupid. I know it doesn't make sense, but I guarantee you in 6 months, this is going to make sense to you. And this is going to be important. I would love to have a mechanism where I could put to record some sort of staking mechanism. And within that DAO, when that comes to pass, that for decision making relative to that specific thing, like the algorithm just surfaces me a little bit more, or surfaces the person who got it right a little bit more. If I'm full of shit and I get it wrong, like I don't see the value of me just getting a platform to continuously say the wrong thing, right? So the general idea I want to bring forth is more and more right now, a lot of people get the original idea of the Cognitus Manifesto, which was like talking about prediction. And so there's a lot of people pushing for prediction markets, which are actually very they're exclusionary, because if you study the thought patterns of most people, the vast majority of people do not think in future tense, right? So if you build an entire society around prediction markets, where you're saying you have to say what's going to happen, you have to say a discrete end date by which this is going to happen, then you only actually end up getting a small subset of your people actually participating. But something that people do all the time is they just say shit, and then it ages and time passes, and you could say they didn't say a specific prediction. They didn't say like you know, Elon, or like this person did this thing for this specific reason, this Tyler Robinson, and in the future everybody will know this to be true as well. They just said this, they just said the fact, and it either ages well or it ages poorly. And it might seem like a big mechanism right now, but like think about times that you've just had conflicts with people you've that you're collaborating with. Like how often, and I know people, like my wife has this at times where it's like there will be a conflict and she'll have the receipts. She will. She'll have like all of these emails saying, here's exactly what I said. Here's you agreeing to what I said. And she has to waste all of this time going through, pulling back all these receipts when you should just be moving forward, right? You should just be like, listen, what I said aged well, right? Here's the record. And what you said did not age well. And so what I'm envisioning into being is now we have all these LLMs that sort of automatically do this, that you can have systems where it's like you're staking your beliefs to record, you're staking what matters now with the confidence that when things come to pass, you would have an algorithm that's not just lifting up because people are excited or interested or it's novel or it makes people afraid, but you know that you're in a group of people trying to cohere together, and every single time the model brings something up to you, every single time the algorithm brings it up, you know it's tied to something bigger than just your attention, right? That it can be like, we talk a lot, there are a lot of people talking about like owning your data, right? Like still in the concept of selling it or whatever. And to me, what we need to evolve into is like owning your data means that like there is something valuable about you being ahead of the curve that makes you a valuable source of information. That means that like in deliberation, like in lawmaking, in deciding about the future of things, your voice can come in. And that should happen. Like the people who understand the world the best should be leading it. Yet we don't have that world. We have leaders who rise to the top, not based off of the accuracy of what they say, which is funny because politicians are basically known for predictions, and we can clearly measure their success of what they say over time, but we just haven't quite figured it out. So what I advocate for in this world is, you know, using these new tools to give people the capacity to give weight to their word. to bring us back to the place of like, my word is my bond, meaning like I'm saying this and it means something, but then it's going to actually have weight in your chosen community, however many months into the future that actually comes into play. Because the truth of the matter is, proof takes time, and most of the time, by the time the proof has come along, we're on a different news cycle and we're not talking about the same thing anymore. So that act of the retroactive error correction that says, hey, this person was completely wrong at this time. We should maybe do some reflection about that, so that like we as a group are more aligned on reality and can make better decisions together. That's not happening. So what I'm proposing, if we bring that into a common cultural practice that is like almost sacred in its sense, of like binding weight to our word, then we can start to turn around the information landscape. And it can be the foundation for a new system. I don't want to get too deep into how we would do that, but I just want to propose the idea vaguely, because I'm sure all of you can imagine different ways you could do that, different ways you could have it have weight, and different ways you can make it work. Does that all resonate? Is that all making a lot of sense?